There's a kind of book that doesn't warn you before it changes you. It just quietly rearranges the furniture in your mind while you're not looking. Milan Kundera's The Joke is exactly that kind of book. Written under the shadow of Czechoslovak communism, banned almost as soon as it began to matter, it dares to ask a question most of us spend our whole lives avoiding. What happens when we finally understand how much of our own destruction we ourselves signed up for? This isn't a novel about tanks, trials, or grand historical catastrophe, even though all of that lingers in the background like smoke that never quite clears. It's a novel about how easily a life can be dismantled, not by some enormous dramatic force, but by a single careless sentence, a wounded ego, a decision made in anger that echoes for decades. Kundera doesn't just tell a story about destruction, he hands you a mirror and asks you to notice every place in your own life where you've been quietly building or quietly tearing down without even realizing it. Today, we're pulling out 7 of the sharpest lessons hidden inside The Joke. 1. A single word can detonate an entire life. It begins almost absurdly with a joke. Milan, young, brilliant, and infatuated with a girl who takes her party devotion far too seriously, scribbles a sarcastic postcard just to provoke her, a few mocking lines about revolutionary optimism, ending with the line, "Optimism is the opium of the people." It's the kind of joke a bored, clever young man makes without thinking twice, and it costs him everything. His place in the party, his education, his friendships, his entire future, almost overnight. What Kundera is really showing us here is how disproportionate destruction can be to its cause. We like to believe our lives fall apart for grand, dramatic reasons, a great betrayal, a great mistake. But so often it's something small, an offhand comment, a joke that lands wrong, a moment of carelessness we forget about in 5 minutes while it detonates quietly in someone else's memory for years. Ludwig's Postcard is a warning wrapped inside a punchline. Words don't just describe our world, sometimes they demolish it. 2. Revenge is a fire that burns the one who lights it. Years later, Ludwig returns to his hometown carrying a plan sharpened by over a decade of humiliation. He will seduce Helena, the wife of Pavel Zemenek, the very man who once led the charge to destroy him. It's meticulous, it's cold, it's supposed to feel like justice finally arriving on schedule. And then, in one of the most devastating twists in modern literature, Kundera pulls the rug out from under his protagonist. Zemenek doesn't care anymore. He's moved on, reinvented himself, and Ludwig's perfectly engineered revenge lands on absolutely nothing. The man he wanted to destroy was never standing where he left him. This is Kundera at his most brutally honest about the nature of revenge. It's never actually about the other person. It's about trying to reach backward in time and undo a wound that's already permanent. Ludwig doesn't destroy Zemenek. He only destroys more of himself and hurts Helena, an innocent bystander, in the process. The lesson lingers uncomfortably. The people we want to punish have often already left the version of themselves we're punishing. All that's left holding the grudge is us. And if a story this layered, this quietly devastating, is starting to pull at something in you, you don't need to hunt down a physical copy to experience it. You can listen to The Joke as an audiobook through Amazon Audible during your commute, at work, or in all those in-between moments when sitting down with a physical book isn't an option. Right now, you can try the subscription for practically free, and I'll leave the link in the description if you want to check it out. 3. Systems built on certainty devour the individual. The most chilling part of Ludwig's downfall isn't the joke itself, it's the tribunal that follows. Friends he trusted, comrades who knew exactly who he was, stand up one by one and vote to expel him, not because they believe he's truly dangerous, but because doubting the system, even for a second, feels more dangerous than betraying a friend. Kundera captures something terrifyingly real about ideological certainty. The more absolute a belief system becomes, the less room it leaves for a single human being to be complicated, contradictory, or simply joking around. This is where the joke stops being a story about one unlucky young man and becomes a warning about any system, political, social, or even personal, that demands total conformity as the price of belonging. Individuals get sacrificed constantly, quietly, in the name of protecting an idea. And Kundera's genius is showing us that it doesn't take villains to make this happen. It just takes ordinary people too afraid of being the next name on the list. 4. The past cannot be rebuilt, only reinterpreted. When Ludwig returns to his hometown, he isn't just chasing revenge. He's chasing a version of the past he never got to finish living. He wants closure, restitution, some kind of rebalancing of the scales. But Kundera keeps reminding us, gently and then not so gently, that the past isn't a room you can walk back into and rearrange. It's already sealed. All Ludwig can actually do is reinterpret what happened, and even that reinterpretation keeps slipping out of his control, because everyone else around him remembers it differently, or doesn't remember it at all. This might be the most quietly devastating truth in the entire novel. Destruction, once it happens, can't be reversed by force of will, no matter how carefully we plan our return to the scene of the crime. We can understand the past, we can even make peace with it, but we can't rebuild it, and trying to often causes more damage than the original wound ever did. 5. Irony can become a cage of its own. Ludwig survives his punishment years, brutal labor battalions, isolation, humiliation, by wrapping himself in irony and detachment, refusing to let anything touch him too deeply ever again. It's an understandable defense. It's also, Kundera suggests, its own quiet form of self-destruction. The same distance that protects Ludwig from being hurt again also slowly hollows him out until he can barely access sincerity even when he wants to, even when it might have saved him. There's something painfully familiar in this. So many of us build a similar kind of armor after we've been wounded. Sarcasm instead of vulnerability, detachment instead of hope, jokes instead of honesty. It works for a while. But Kundera shows us the cost hiding on the other side of that protection. A person so guarded against pain that he becomes incapable of real connection, even when connection is exactly what's being offered to him. 6. Even sincere devotion cannot stop time from erasing what we love. Running alongside Ludwig's story is Yaroslav, a lifelong devotee of traditional Moravian folk music, desperately trying to preserve something authentic in a world that keeps flattening everything into political spectacle. His devotion is sincere, tireless, almost sacred to him. And yet, page by page, Kundera lets us watch it slip away anyway. Modernized, commercialized, absorbed into the very propaganda machine Yaroslav was trying to protect it from. It's one of the quietest heartbreaks in the novel, precisely because Yaroslav did nothing wrong. He loved something purely and fought to keep it alive. Kundera isn't punishing him for failure. He's showing us an uncomfortable truth about time itself. Not everything that gets destroyed is destroyed because someone wasn't careful enough or didn't love it enough. Sometimes things we cherish are simply carried away by forces far larger than our devotion to them. And the tragedy isn't in losing the fight. It's in realizing some fights were never fully ours to win. 7. What destruction leaves behind is still ours to choose. By the novel's final pages, almost everything Ludwig once had, his reputation, his youth, his plan for revenge, even his carefully constructed detachment, lies in pieces around him. Kundera doesn't offer a neat redemption. There's no triumphant rebuilding, no perfect closure. What's left instead is quieter and, in its own strange way, more honest, the recognition that destruction, once it happens, becomes part of who we are, whether we like it or not. But Kundera doesn't leave us in total despair either. What he suggests, underneath all that wreckage, is that we still retain one final, stubborn freedom, the freedom to decide what we do with what's left standing. Ludwig can't undo his past. He can't resurrect the friendships, the years, the version of himself that existed before the joke. But he can choose, finally, whether to keep living inside the ruins or to start building something new on top of them. And maybe that's the quiet, hard-earned wisdom Kundera leaves us with. Destruction is often inevitable. What we rebuild afterward is not. Before we close this one, if these 7 lessons struck a nerve, remember you don't need a physical copy to experience the joke for yourself. The full audiobook is available through Amazon Audible, so you can walk through Kundera's Czechoslovakia during your commute, at work, or in any moment when reading on paper just isn't possible. The trial subscription is practically free right now, and the link will be waiting for you in the description below. In the end, the joke isn't really a novel about communism or revenge or even a badly timed postcard. It's a novel about how fragile the things we build really are: our reputations, our loves, our carefully guarded identities, and how much of life is spent either defending them or grieving them. Kundera doesn't promise us safety from destruction. He simply insists that even after everything falls apart, we still get to choose what comes next. Remember to subscribe, comment, like, and see you next time.